So on the Teflon Tales first episode in December, I have with me an old friend, Hema Lakkaraju. Welcome, Hema.
Hey, hi Ashwin. Always nice to come and chat with you.
Yeah, so good to have you. I was actually going through LinkedIn today to see when we actually connected. I've got the date in front of me. It was November 26th, 2018. And I
Wow.
remember my message to you saying, "Hey, I'm going to read this out. I'll see you'll be speaking at the Cybersecurity Expo this week. I'll be speaking at the IoT Expo at the same venue. Let's connect."
Hmm.
And I wanted to kind of bring that up because just to kind of go back and from that day onwards to your journey almost 2 years later, right? So talk a little bit about what you're doing right now, and then we can start walking down the memory lane.
Yeah, I think part of the credit where I am now belongs to you.
Okay, so I take no part.
So, because I do remember, I was at Perkinelmer when I was giving a talk at the cybersecurity conference, and I was in this phase of uh, thinking something differently, something that can bring more value to the organization in terms of my mindset as a compliance leader. And I think at the right time we met and we had the podcast on what we called as a compliance strategy. Thinking strategical in compliance, not just by checklist or
Yeah.
by book and so on. At the end of the podcast, and after a few months thinking about it and experiencing the same thing, I thought that it is a good time to think, and we started to introduce that concept of it in some of the projects, and it led to my realization that it is something that I have to bring it outside and develop it at a full fledged so that it can be used by multiple organizations. And it's not just a piece of software or it's not just a service, but it's something. A mindset change for compliance leaders, for quality professionals, for regulatory professionals, that has not been changed for over a decade or 2 decades, and it was a prime time where the technology is changing at a rapid phase, where the health and life sciences industry is no longer a silo specialized industry, but it was becoming all inclusive of IoT, software, hardware, all these different fields are clubbing together to create a hybrid of a new era of health and life sciences industry. So I thought it was the right time.
So Hema,
I
let me pause we put a pause over there and ask you that question, right? So which is you mentioned it's almost in some sense it's like you're seeing all these things that are coming at you, right? Whether it's technology is there, mindset change has to happen, and but you did something which lots of people sometimes have trouble doing, right? Which is realizing that there is opportunity staring at you, but it means coming out of your comfort zone. And you just posted this recently, Michael Bobak's quote, which says, "All progress comes outside the comfort zone." So, talk a little bit about when you decided to walk out of the traditional corporate gig that you had at the last company, Perkin Elmer, and realizing what sorts of things did you have self doubt about at that point, saying, "Hey, am I doing the right thing?" And what helped you go through that transition, if you will?
I think that we have. I personally want to jump in the role of I'm not a solo person
Mhm.
who is trying to something new as a startup in mid 20s or something. Okay, so I have a family. I'm a mother of two living in Bay Area. Me and my husband both are working, so it takes a lot of courage, bravery, to come out of that comfort zone where you're living in Bay Area, where you have bills to pay, where you have
Yeah.
two kids to take care of, and coming out from a work from home comfort zone full time job to a complete not knowing what would be the result.
Yeah.
Um, uh, so it took me and my husband almost like months and months of discussion,
Mhm.
to assess the situation in all the possible arenas where we can. And it was a family decision, and I will really thank my husband for giving so much of support during this time. And yeah, it took a lot of courage. It took something that I can say, yeah, it will not be a smooth ride. It would be a bumpy ride for me. Yeah, for next 2 or 3 or 4 years, we don't know. And it's not just a trendy thing. It's something that we are going to change the mindset of, and it's not going to happen over 1 year, 2 years. It's going to take more. And that yeah, that took a lot of courage. Not just over the night I just woke up and say, hey, come on, we are going
Yeah,
to do a startup. No,
yeah,
it was
yeah.
months and months of thinking before I jumped into this ride. Yeah.
So talking about change, right? And I've had the privilege of knowing you for a while, but for the other viewers, you post consistently on LinkedIn. You also post videos on LinkedIn. That wasn't the case pre-COVID, right? Let's say around February, March. So,
Yeah.
and over the course of these whatever 6 8 months, the quality, the impact has gone through the roof, right? So talk a little bit about, when again going back to the Teflon analogy, but how does somebody take on something brand new
Mm,
and be able to consistently do better at it.
mm,
And lots of people have that, whether it's inner critic, am I good enough? Is the lighting okay? I mean, all kinds of things, right? Versus just start, you're going to suck in the beginning, but then you get better. So how talk just taking that one new thing that you've been doing, talk a little bit about how you've come to a point where, I mean, you're a professional video producer as far as I'm concerned.
oh no, that's really sweet of you to tell, but it took effort to. So yeah, my actually journey started by what most of the people did, right? Having the startup, contacting people, and trying to put weekly webinars and so on. And after trying this webinar concept of weekly webinar, trying to invite people, and I saw a lot of less people coming in,
Mhm.
which again goes to the point of Teflon Tech being adaptable, being
Yeah,
flexible, thinking not from your perspective but from the other people
yeah,
perspective. So I talked with two or three potential people who were trying to attend the webinar but they couldn't, and they said, like, once the life started with whole digitalization, it's really hard to attend webinars and also
yeah.
work, and we have families and all those things. So it brought back the point, like, what I can do better from my side, right?
Mhm.
So I'm expecting a lot from other people, but what I can do better from my side, what is the better way to reach more audience? And that's where the whole concept of video came into place. But again, I think through you I came to know Alex, and I want to do not an IN job, but to understand the value of video content
Yeah,
and how it's going to not for getting more likes or more thing, but something that can be used as a tool to deliver the message that I wanted to give. So Alex really helped me a lot in terms of understanding the video content and so on. Yeah, he I was mentally set. Yeah, the first 2 months it was sucked. I was not even looking at the camera. I do remember you were, giving me the feedback.
I gave you a light pointer. Hey, you need to stare at the camera.
Yeah, yeah, I do remember. So yeah, it was there, and there were days where the brain is still blank. You don't know what to talk about for that week and so on. But it's again pushing and pushing and pushing yourself out of the comfort zone, and there would be 30 takes one day or 40 takes one day to sit and make the content right. And there would be some days where you know exactly what you're talking, and it's like, okay, one take, you're done
Yeah.
recording, and then it's uploading. So it took a lot. That was one of my biggest challenge, because I have been habituated talking like on a stage as a speaker and
Yeah.
so on, not looking at the camera, looking at the people, and it was a challenge. It was a big challenge for me because a lot of self doubt, and as a startup, you have the up and down.
Yeah.
You have your good days, you have
Mhm.
your rock bottom bad days.
Yeah.
One day you get good responses from from the people you connect
Yeah.
with, and some people for a few weeks you don't even get any response from the people. So I stopped looking at it from a perspective of number of views and likes.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, in the past few months, uh, I try to change my mindset into I want to deliver something useful to the
Yeah.
audience. It's not about the number of likes, it's not about the number of views. But even if one startup founder or two health startup founders or any person who is in health and life sciences industry who can get some useful message from the content that I'm putting, that would be great. And that's how it is for me now.
Yes. So, well, as you mentioned something along the way, which stuck in my head, right? Because it's again a shift that many people struggle to go with, right?
Mm,
Especially people who have kind of business DNA, if you will, which
mm,
is everything is measured in ROI, right? So
mm,
you're doing 40 takes. If you don't get 4 likes, if you don't get one lead gen, then it is bad, right?
mm,
But talk about where you are today, where I know it's like, hey, it's give, 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 without really expecting anything in return. Now, I know it sounds counterintuitive, but it's the only thing that works, especially now, right? But like you're talking about whether your webinars and other things, and being able to pivot that and doing these short videos where you're giving content, and then
mm.
people come and reach out to you when they need something. So talk a little bit about that mind shift.
Yeah, sure. So when I started the company, as any other startup founder, I had this, the vision of, okay, we will go big in 1 or 2 years and so on. And there is a curve of a startup where you see at the start you have high expectations, later you hit the real real world, and then you hit up again. Um, for me, there were some tip jobs, right, where you're not getting enough response or traction, and then I have to sit back and I have to think how I want to portray uh, my startup and myself, how I have to brand myself. Do I need to brand myself as any other, as you said, business ROI founder,
Mhm.
or can I be a person who can live with or without the startup, right? So that's the personal branding. And that personal branding, or impacts the startup
Yeah.
if you are the founder, and because people will know through you what are you, and then they will get an impression of your startup.
Right.
And Peter Thiel said this amazing quote: is competition is not is for losers. I don't it again completely depends upon which scenario you're in,
Yeah.
but for my side, for my mindset, I understood that why would people come to you?
Yeah.
uh, People have to come to you because there is a need. And how would they know that there is a need? If you tell them what you're providing, right? And you are telling them the problem and the possible solutions for it. It might happen overnight, or
Yeah.
it might take some time, but you are the person that have to build the trust for the potential clients, and that cannot come overnight, and that cannot come with my sponsored content or so on. That is something that I have to build right from scratch. Once that hard reality hit me, uh, yeah, I have to change the whole ball game here. Yeah.
Mm. So, and again, that fits in perfectly well into this whole Teflon analogy piece, right? Which again is something that I know I struggled with, and I see lots of people who go through these. Is you get attached to a certain methodology, you get attached to a certain way of doing things,
Mm, mm,
and even if the data that comes at you, and then there's lots of these proverbs like, hey, you got to stick it till you make it, and all these other things. Whereas reality is, hey, the data is telling you, like your perfect example of, hey, you all the good intentions, you had all the content, you have Hema speaking, but people are distracted, they're overwhelmed, right? So
mm,
attending a webinar isn't it for you. So being able to walk away from that and start something new, that's the other piece, right? Which is, as somebody who is playing so many different roles and wanting to kind of change mindsets and bringing in this compliance mindset, how difficult was it to put pause on certain things that weren't working, and in order to start kind of putting the accelerator on certain things that did work?
Yeah, I think it all starts from inside.
Mm.
It all starts from inside. I mean, if there is a lot of information that you can see, and your mindset is fixed that I will go this way, and even though it takes me how much long time, then it's not going to help, right? So you have to. For me, I had to come out of that fear,
Mm.
the fear of failure, the fear of rejection, the fear that I might not get many likes or clicks or videos, and say that what is really important,
Yeah.
what does I stand for, and what do people have to remember me for, and what I can contribute as a human being or as a professional to the society. And once I keep all those numbers and all those stats and all those traditional approaches of marketing and sales, which I try, to be frank with you,
Yeah.
and it didn't work. It worked in sometimes and it didn't work, but ultimately my main thing I want to uh, that that really scared me is that if I go to this traditional sales pitch
Mm.
approach, people will just reject me, and even though if in future they will just look at you not as a value, something that you're providing value to, but just like, the normal
Yeah.
sales people trying to pitch in without providing any value. So that was the main core reason. Once I understood, that flipped my whole uh, attitude towards it, and how to handle situations. Yeah.
Hey, you use the word flip perfectly, just like a Teflon pan, right? It's like, hey, this is
Yeah.
not working. And the other thing that you mentioned, right, which I don't think is talked about very much. I know you posted about that on LinkedIn as well, which is, and you mentioned about this briefly, but talk about, especially now, but even before COVID, where majority of people are working from home, is the whole concept of you're wearing multiple different hats, right?
Mm,
You're a mother of two, you're a wife, you're a startup founder, you're a brand maker, you're a video creator, and you can burn both ends of the candle, right? The
yeah.
other thing about Teflon, which really works in favor of people who can actually turn the stove off and
Mm,
cool down very quickly. So
mm,
talk about tactics that you use to ensure that for you to be effective, for you to actually deliver value, you need to cool down as well, right? So where do you get your sense of solace from? So for me, I mean, doing these Wednesday Teflon Tales is my kind of midweek motivator, right? So where do you
mm.
get your juices from, other than what your work and your family obligations are?
Yeah, I think let's jump into the fact of being a parent, or mother or father, or being a parent during the COVID-19 time and working, and being an entrepreneur, because I think that is very important to spend few minutes of time on it.
Hmm.
Is First of all, being this entrepreneur journey is going to take a whole lot of load from you, on a mental basis, on a psychological basis, on a physical basis, and all other aspects of it. So you will go to that roller coaster ride of different swings of mindset and different swings of moods that your family have to bear with.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is reality with it. But on top of it, being a parent is that you can't just show those modes up, because you have
Yeah.
people that are counting on you,
Yeah.
and especially if you're a parent, your mental health and your mood swings is going to create a ripple effect around the families, and that is very, very crucial. Especially as a mother, I feel like my mental health is very crucial for creating a good ambience for the family.
Yeah.
So I try to remind myself every time, about it and try to dissect whatever mood swings or whatever failures or success I have on a day-to-day life in terms of being an entrepreneur away from the family.
Mhm.
So and it's always being grateful for, Ashwin, as you said, being grateful for having a home, being grateful for having food on the table, being grateful for having kids who love you,
Mhm.
who want to spend time with you, and trying to change that mindset of being grateful and enjoying those little joys, that gives you the strength to strive with anything on a professional basis. And that what helps me, to be frank with you. Yeah.
Wow, yeah, that's definitely really really good advice. One final question, right? And
Yeah.
again, this is something that it takes a lot to talk about it openly, but once you do, it really brings you closer to people, right? Which is really talking about vulnerability, talking about failure.
Mhm.
And so, how was that jump for you? Because I know you're very very open about it, right?
Mm.
And number one, why did the jump occur? Number two, what changes have you seen in terms of the community outreach as you've started becoming more open about your own failures?
Yeah. So for me, when the shift occurred when I tried to start the startup, it was first a consulting firm, and then we based on what feedback I got, I created the startup, the software platform, and so on. But for once, I think most of the people who create the startup have this amazing idea that your product is great and it's going to create a huge impact and it would be next million or billion dollar company. Okay.
Mhm.
You should have that motivation and it will help you to push the things forward on a daily basis. But also the one thing, the once I started to think that the other side, whom I'm communicating, is also a human being who have the personal life, who have the family as we do, or who have their daily up and downs, who
Yeah,
have the daily frustrations, who will get messages like from all other potential services, right? So it gives you a fair amount of reality that to accept the rejections. It gives you fair amount of reality to think uh, in other people's shoes, like shifting the webinar to a weekly video content so that people can watch it whenever they want to,
mhm.
and sending the video messages via email. Even sending the DMs to the people on
Yeah,
LinkedIn, not just like, "Hey, nice to get connected. Do you want this product or something?"
yeah,
But just trying to understand, you know. So when you send a DM, when you connect with the people, try to send a video message or personalized message saying that what is common between you and that person, right?
yeah,
Is it the journey as a startup? Is it their expertise? Is it their skills that you have in common? Is it the industry? And spend at least 2 to 5 minutes of time on what they are working on, and add those little points together, because that's what build the relationships on. And once I started to change the shift on building the relations, not as a for-profit organization, it gave me a peace of mind and gave me courage to move on. Yeah.
wow, yeah. Again, I know it's not something that is easy to talk about, but again, in your case, you're living it, right? So it kind of
Yeah.
becomes second nature. So again, thanks for your time, and glad to host you today on the Teflon Tales.
Thank you, Ashwin, and thank you all who have attended. And it's really glad sharing the real tales with you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.